I mean,
I don't know. I don't know that. I think that really develops in training camp and off season and things like that. I think it's very rare that a player surprises you during the season somehow. I think it's more of a slow burn, and it's things that you already saw, whether it was an off-season program or training camp or preseason games.
As you ever wonder how Belichick maintains his edge after essentially like mastering the art of coaching? I mean, no one has accomplished anything near what he has.
What about it,
Do you ever wonder about how he maintains his edge and his fire?
That's his job, and he's very good at his job. He's a very competitive guy, and I mean, the thing about coaching and the thing about football is there's no day that's exactly the same as the day before. There's no game that's exactly the same, and I think that sort of keeps us all fresh and keeps us all going.
as you've studied,
First press conference, you had the process a lot. You opened out all the cornerbacks. You concerned at the time of putting aside your quarterback. What has stood out about the way?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find one coach that's not concerned about corners and coverage. I mean, it's such an essential part of the game, and it's a position that one mistake you can pay the ultimate price, which is a touchdown. Linebacker can make a mistake and it be an 8-yard gain. A defensive lineman can make a mistake, somebody else can cover it up. But, corners are your last line of defense, and they're on an island. I think that the way we played a corner, we didn't have Darby when we started training camp. Patrick Robinson hadn't settled into the nickel position. He had been playing mainly outside. Jalen Mills was a developing player. Russell was going through his rookie moments. So we were, we developed into our defense, and it was hard work that each of those guys put in that allowed them to be successful.
Was that week in August when you moved Patrick inside, was that a turning point, for lack of a better term?
I don't know. He played inside, a little bit. We knew he could do that, but we just had a weakness outside, and we were trying to find our best combination of guys. He's really solidified that spot. He's brought a veteran presence to it. He's played zone well. He's played man well. He's blitzed occasionally. He doesn't blitz very much, but occasionally he's blitzed well. Solidifying that position, I mean, I don't know, it always gets labeled a starter, but your nickel slot is a starter, and that's certainly been a big part of our success.
as you've studied Brady, what's unique to you about the way he plays, and have you found anything at all that you think you can exploit, a vulnerability that he may have?
Yeah, those people that have tried to find something they can exploit were sent home crying probably about 2001. It's been so long. I mean, the reason he stood the test of time is because he doesn't have holes in his game. He doesn't have flaws. The NFL is really good at exposing schemes, really good at exposing individual players. Offensive coordinators, position coaches, they all make a lot of money, defensive coaches, to try to find weaknesses in schemes and to sort of make adjustments that take a guy's skill set out. The guys that stand the test of time are guys that are well-rounded players that you can't eliminate one thing. They don't have an Achilles heel that you can go to, and I think Tom Brady fits that role perfectly. I mean, if there would have been weaknesses, he wouldn't have lasted this long. He wouldn't have had the success that he's had. But it's just not about stopping him. You need to keep an eye on stopping their offense. He's a part of their offense. He's obviously a very important part of it. But if you concentrate too much on one individual player, there's a lot of other guys that are going to make you look bad.
Execution is one of the most important things in football, but sometimes the players trying to do more in the field and they make mistakes like the Saints game and the last play at that game. How you prepare your players to avoid that mistakes if they're nervous?
Yeah, football is an imperfect game. Nobody ever plays a perfect game. You don't play 100%. I mean, on any one play, you have 11 players on defense, 11 players on offense. it's a little bit like chess, and there's so many moving parts. There's going to be a mistake somewhere. The biggest thing is being consistent over time, understanding, that there's going to be some mistakes and minimizing those mistakes, and also being prepared when the time comes. We talked a little bit before about you never know when that 3rd and 18's coming. It could be the key play of the game, and that's when the opportunity meets your preparation.
3 years ago, you coordinated against this offense twice. As you kind of prepare for it now, what's changed about just the approach that they have? Not much?
Yeah, obviously still the same coordinator and still the same head coach and still the same quarterback. But, I think one of the things that has allowed them to be successful is they're not the same year in and year out. What they do, what they look like one week isn't necessarily what they look like the week before. If they were a one-trick pony, they wouldn't have lasted this long. And, they've got the ability to adapt to injuries, adapt to game plan, adapt to opponents' personnel. And that's the challenge of stopping them is, it's just not paint by the numbers. You're going to have to be prepared for a lot of different things, and you're also going to have to recognize that you have strengths. And there you have matchups that are going to be difficult for them, and you have to play to your strengths a little bit. When it's all said and done, if a hitter's a good fastball hitter and a pitcher's got a good fastball, sometimes you got to put your best against their best and let the chips fall.
Over that time, I think you probably coached against them 6 or 7 times while you were in Tennessee and everything else. As you've watched those changes happen, is it more personnel that switches up, or is there concepts that change?
No, there's just the game changes. The game looks different now than it did in 2000 or 2001. 2001, Brady's first Super Bowl. The game looks different now. It's played a little different way. Techniques are played a little different way. It's all an evolution. Well, I think one of the things I like about this defense is they're well-rounded. We're not just good in one area, and I think we've all known defenses or offenses that were really good at running the ball or stopping the run, but they weren't as good passing, or they could get a lot of sacks, but they were terrible at stopping the run, or they got a lot of turnovers, but they also gave up a lot of big plays, and sometimes it's part and parcel. But, this defense has been good in a lot of different areas. The 2 most important, points allowed and takeaways. When you really boil it down, what you need to be good at, you need to keep points off the board, keep the game manageable, and you need to find a way to get the ball back from your offense. Those are the 2 things you can affect on defense, and we've been pretty good at both of those.
Well, with the keys to this game, you just named a couple things, of course, that you've done well all year long. What in particular against this set of guys, groupings that they use, say Gronkowski, what are the keys to victory in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's just more generic than that. It's about being consistent, and again, you can't scheme to take one guy out of the game. Gronkowski was out of the last game. They still won. So that can't be your goal. Your goal can't be, take out a particular running back or, eliminate one wide receiver, because they're not built that way. They're built to, to be an efficient offense and to go to where they need to go to. So I think the whole key to this week, the whole key to the game on Sunday is going to be consistency across the board. It's not going to be about individual performance. It's going to be about team performance. And, it sounds a little cliche, but I think it's true.
With Gronk, how big of a chip?
Yeah, Corey's a veteran player. He's smart. He's played corner. He's played safety. He's played nickel in the past. He gives us a lot of flexibility. He's a very consistent player. And he's also allowed us to use Malcolm Jenkins in the role that we've used him in. Malcolm's a hybrid player for us. Plays a linebacker role, plays a nickel role, has done a lot of those things. And Corey is just such a dependable player. He's had a couple times this year when the chips have been down, he's made the play for us. And a sort of an unsung hero to our defense.
Coach, with Gronk, given the fact that you do have to defend so many other players, how much more of a challenge is it to then match up with him?
It's certainly a challenge. I mean, he's giant. You know, he's big, and it's not just tall. He's just big all around. He makes it hard to cover him. Even when he's covered, he's still open. He's a good blocker. I think that might go a little bit, under the radar. But he's very effective in the run game. He's a good run after the catch player. So there's a lot of layers to, getting him defended. And it's not just one thing. Like I said, if he was a one-trick pony, if he was a tight end that only could run short routes, maybe you could scheme that out. Or he was a guy that only ran deep routes or wasn't a very good blocker. You could take advantage of some of that, but the reason he's been a successful player is he is well-rounded, and we're going to have to defend every aspect of his game.
Is he more dangerous inside or when they get him matched up against a smaller corner, maybe outside?
Yeah, I think both of them. He's got his ways of being effective. He's obviously, most tight ends are effective in the inside part of the game, but sort of in the NFL now, and maybe over the last 10 years or so, you're seeing so many more tight ends that line up as wide receivers. And they can beat you a lot of different ways. Some guys beat you with speed, some guys beat you with size, some guys beat you with moves. He's got all of those things, and he's tough to handle on a short pass. You can't just say, we'll give him a short pass, and he's tough to tackle sometimes.
Coach, Fletcher Cox has been one of your biggest defensive weapons this year. He was named the first team